Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday. Yes, you have tuned in to
Monique
and Paige. Thank you guys for joining us. We are Sacred Potential, where we discuss the overlap of creativity, spirituality, and possibility. Today, we're going to be meeting Sierra PRUITT. Sierra PRUITT is a fashion photographer, but she's so much more than that. You'll get to learn how much more she is. And it's, you know what? I actually met her in London. And that's where we will meet her again.
Amen.
Trust that in the name of Jesus. All right, are you still with us? Okay, good. So here we are. Enjoy. We are here today with the fabulous fashion photographer Sierra PRUITT from Portland. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Sierra. I'm so excited to be here. Seriously, like, I can't wait for people to learn more about your work because it's absolutely fascinating and it's beautiful. So we're gonna go right in and start asking questions. Okay, my first question ultimately is, if you could not say what you did for a living and what your name was, and I asked you, who are you? What would you say?
Dang, yes. Wow. I feel like a lot of people, yep. I would probably say I'm just a Christian Jesus follower girl trying to figure it out, you know? Or I guess I can't say I'm an artist, can I? Yeah. I would definitely say like I am a Jesus follower. That's obviously my first identity before anything else. I don't have anything other things to describe. I'm inviting, funny, humorous, don't know.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
So for our audience who may not know yet about what you do and everything, tell us about what you do and, you know, what it means to you and what made you get started with it, and just tell us all about you.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, my name's Sierra. I'm from Portland, Oregon. I grew up here and I've definitely been doing art for a while, since high school. I used to be super into sports and then I became a full-on artist for I don't even know how. That I studied theater, I studied fashion photography in London after I quit my first college to go back to college in London to study fashion photography. So I've been dabbling in photography for how long now? About like 8 years now. And fashion photography about 4 years. I just moved back to Portland from London. I was there for 4 years doing fashion photography. What else do I say? I got into photography through my iPhone, which is crazy. My friend, basically, he was on Instagram. This is back in like 2012 or something, when he was on Instagram and he used to do iPhone photography. And I was like, what's that? That's super cool. Like, I have never heard of that before. And then I just started following him and like other people that were like just taking like photos of like mountains and trees and whatever on their phones and like editing them and posting them. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, I'm going to start doing this. So I started using my phone to take pictures. And then I bought myself like a DSLR camera and just started shooting my friends. So I just started kind of like, I'm a self-taught photographer. So I kind of just learned things on YouTube, and I've taken like a couple photography classes in high school, but that was really my only knowledge of it.
Wow.
And yeah, so I literally was like, I love this so much. I know that this is like something that I want to do. I used to do acting, and then I was like, no, I'm not actually as passionate about it anymore. I'm going to start doing photography, which is quite a different medium, but it was like, I don't know, sometimes you realize how good you are with one thing and bad you are with another thing, or like I don't know, I was like, I'm actually good at this and I actually like doing it. And acting, I was like, all right, but I wasn't amazing and I didn't have a passion for it. So I switched to photography, and then I've been doing that ever since. Now it's 2020. So Yeah.
That is absolutely incredible. I hadn't actually realized that it was like through seeing someone like a friend who was doing iPhone photography. That's how you took an interest in
Yeah.
craft. That's kind of crazy. So like, cause
Yes, this was like the start of Instagram, when like Instagram wasn't all about like business and advertising and whatever. It was like all about people just taking photos, and like it was like a completely different way of doing things, for sure.
right. Because I've seen your work, and it's so much depth. It actually has feeling. And so how would you personally describe your work?
Yeah, I describe my work as editorial, and I know that fashion has a lot of different types of work. There could be like people with glossy work, or like super commercialized, like beauty and all of that. I think mine is quite like toned down, a lot of natural colors, not too much. I mean, a lot of editing, I guess, but not like, it doesn't look so edited. I love to shoot menswear, and that's probably one of my favorite things to shoot is menswear. And so I love avant-garde fashion. I love shooting that. I love looking at how to like shoot in a way that's posed but not too posed, and candid but not actually candid. It's a lot of kind of direction, which I think probably came from my theater background, which like now I know how to actually direct people in the scene and whatever. So I think it's kind of like a simplified, toned down version, editorial, but like avant-garde at the same time. How to use the body, how to pose the body, how to like unconventionally see a model, but how to like pose them in an unconventional way. Maybe they're just like on the floor, you can't even see their face. Like sometimes I like to do stuff like that, and like kind of push boundaries into what the body can do. But if you look at my Instagram, I guess you can look at what I'm trying to describe, because I never know how to actually describe my work because it's so hard.
Yeah.
I usually just show people, but this is a question that keeps coming up, so I think I need to figure out what I should say.
Do you think that your acting background has had, because the way you described having people in these different positions and the body and everything, do you feel like acting has influenced the photography?
Yeah, I think so. And I think like I didn't realize it until I went to uni, and they're kind of like, oh, like you have like a really great way of movement, and like you could see in the models like the movement and how you photograph and the angles, and they're like, you have a really good eye for that. Do you think that came from like your theater background? And I was like, oh, I don't, maybe. And then I thought about it, and I think it was because when I was studying theater, it was very like I had to study, set design and production and acting. There was like I had to do all of it. And I think that I'm a very like detailed person as it is, so maybe detailed to the fault of perfectionist, but I can look at I don't know, I can see something in my head and I can actually put it in onto the camera, and I can figure out what is a bad angle and what's not a good angle. And like I don't know, it's really weird to describe it because I think it's so instinctual. And I've been like doing it for so long that I don't know. I never looked up like, I mean, I've looked up poses, but I've never looked up like how to pose a model or whatever. I've just tried to like experiment myself, especially when I was first starting, for sure. But yeah.
The part I love in terms of how you started off by saying, film and stuff, it wasn't really in the end wasn't a passion of yours, but it's still finding its way into what you're doing now. So
yeah, for sure.
I mean? So I think that's really
cool.
For
sure. It's cool because I have a lot of photographer friends that they grew up in the theater, or like their parents did it, and they also have the same types of ways of doing things, and it's really cool to see that. I think that like I don't think one art is just like, because obviously you do photography, but you can like paint and like do all these other like creative things, and I think that flows so much into your main work. Like obviously my main work is fashion photography, but a lot of things that I've learned art wise have gone into that. Maybe it's subconsciously too.
How long have you been doing photography?
I've been doing photography I started doing just like lifestyle and like taking pictures of weddings and babies, and just like I tried everything when I first started, and that was in 2012, 2013. So how long is that? 8 years or something. I did freelance, and then I didn't know I wanted to do fashion photography until like 2 or 3 of the years later after freelancing, doing like lifestyle photography. And then so I've been doing fashion for about 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, which fashion was way more exciting than advertising and commercial and all of that, because you can be more creative and expressive with it and weird, and like people don't bat an eye. They're just like, yeah, that's fashion. I'm like, great. I love this. So
since as you know that our podcast is on the overlap of creativity, spirituality, and possibility, so how would you describe the overlap of your spirituality and your creativity, in this case your photography?
Yeah, so nobody knows on this podcast, I am a Christian, and I love Jesus, and I think that he is obviously the creator of the universe, and he's created people to create. And maybe that's cliche in the Christian world, but honestly it's true. Like, my aim with everything that I do is to glorify God in it. And I think a lot of especially when I moved to London, during uni, we kind of learned how to justify our art and like put meaning into our work, and not just to create pretty pictures. And that was something that was what I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn, okay, I just don't want to create like pictures that look cool because that's just trendy. I don't want to like do that. I want to put meaning into my work. So throughout the process of being in London was, okay, how do I actually put Jesus into my work? And like, not like in a cheesy way, but like in an actual genuine way. So I've done all of my projects, and personal projects have been based on Jesus. And that doesn't exactly have to be like, I took a picture of a guy that looked like Jesus.
Right.
No, like that's not like what I'm trying to do. I think there's so many. But like literally, I think that's what people think when they think Christian.
Yes, girl. Yes.
Same with being a
Renaissance.
songwriter.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, yeah, you think of like Christian, and then it like all the stereotypes come up, but like I wanted to actually create something where it was abstract. And I've done like projects based on like anxiety and like peace and like symbolism within the Bible, and like a lot of like research that I've done. Like I've done like hundreds of pages of research on like one project, and like everything symbolizes the Bible. But obviously you see the project and it's not like, I don't know. It's interesting because it's like how to convey it, but obviously not everyone's going to understand what you're conveying. But I did one project which was quite literal, and it's called Image of God, which like I have a podcast based on that too. And then I did a whole project on it, and now I have a website on it. But it was basically like I took pictures of my friends that were all Christian in London, and I went into their homes. They came into my home, and usually I don't take pictures of friends and stuff, but I wanted to show people like, oh, these are what Christians look like. Like, we're fashionable, we're artists, we're like nerds, we're like, it's like every type of person, like ethnicity, like culture, like everything, nationality. There's so many different types of people, and I did a fashion story on that, and that was something that was like, okay, this is like amazing, because I am able to like glorify God and like show him like literal people that are like the image of God in that. And so yeah, I guess obviously I'm trying to create things that do glorify God, and like the whole reason I'm doing it is because of him. And also like building relationships when I'm doing stuff for people business wise or clients. Obviously I'm not shooting, like if I'm shooting a bad company or whatever, like they're not like Jesus followers and whatever, but how do I bring Jesus into the space? Building relationships and like respecting people. Yeah, so it's just kind of, I think all of my creativity is like all wrapped around Jesus, because I can't like have it not be. Like I don't, even like with social media and everything, I can't like separate myself from, I don't know, it's really hard for me to separate like my work and Jesus. It's impossible.
No, that's good. That's something that I really appreciate about you, because I am sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's a little difficult for me when I see someone's post, for me to not just appreciate photo and like it, but to also read the caption. But I generally read all of your captions because,
thanks.
yeah, no, because they're so profound, and it just speaks to me. And you speak about real things. It's not just about like, oh, God is good, Jesus is good. It's like you talk about real things. You talk about anxiety. You talk about mental health. You talk about these real things, and how it can be related in terms of your faith and how your faith helps you through, you know, these areas. And it's just really refreshing, and I really appreciate that, seriously.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's very it's very hard for me to accept the cookie cutter Jesus. So it's I'm not, I don't know. I think people, when you show vulnerability to people, obviously in a healthy way, like people are gonna be like, oh, like this person's not super perfect. They're actually going through this and that, and I think it makes it more relatable to people who aren't Christian as well.
Exactly.
Because like Jesus did not like come to like for like people that are perfect, you know, or people that act like they're perfect. I mean, like he's here for the broken. So it's like that's obviously a challenge, because it's like, oh, like I have to share, I don't have to share vulnerability. But I mean, when I do share vulnerable things, sometimes I'm like, oh, like is it too much? But I'm like, no, you know what, like this is like this is real, this is something that like I'm going through or friends are going through or whatever, and like it needs to be said. And then more than likely there's like a better response to those things, you know, because people can actually relate to it on a human level.
Right.
So,
yeah, completely.
What kind of challenges do you find that come up in the overlap of your faith and your art?
Yeah, like I think the challenge, I guess this is like, I guess there's two things. Like one challenge, which is like a standards thing, or a moral thing, where if like I've had clients or whatever be like, oh, like can you take pictures nude or something like that, and I just say no, because my moral stance for me personally is I don't want to take pictures that like promote lust, or like anything nude. Also, I don't want to see somebody nude if I'm not married to them. Like it's just like kind of just like a lot. So like that's one thing where it's like I'm just like I like can't do this like morally, like religiously or whatever. They're like you kind of have to put in like my religion is this, which is like such a weird thing to me. But I think standards is probably like the hardest but greatest thing in the industry, because obviously if you don't have standards and you just be taking pictures of whatever and like letting people influence you and whatever, or being afraid because I won't make money, or like how am I going to get big, or like sometimes that's hard for people. And I think that that's like a huge challenge for people. And for me, I found that it was easy to have, like, I just myself, I'm very kind of like strong-willed, so I'm and stubborn, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, like it's against what I believe, so sorry. Or like points them to somebody, like another photographer that I know would do something like that. That's like one challenge. Another challenge for me personally that I think I had tension with now that I've talked about like too much probably, but just the sense of like how fashion and the industry, just like it is materialism, and like obviously it is art, but it's like I'm taking pictures to like sell clothes or sell this and sell that, and that's like been a tension for me, because I'm like, what am I actually doing? All I'm doing is just taking photos, trying to like, what's it called, create a lifestyle that people desire. Like Gucci is like the biggest example of that. It's like if you're wearing Gucci, like you're in this fantastical like eccentric world, and like that's what they, which I'm obsessed with, like every campaign that they do and whatever, but I know that it is a marketing tactic, and sometimes I'm just like, oh, like I hate this love for brands and like love for like the material and not for anything other than that, you know? So that's something that I'm going through now, which, okay, how do I like be Jesus and like also be in this industry where like everyone's obsessed with reputation or how they look or the latest things they own or whatever, you know what I mean?
That's
so those are a couple things.
Yeah, that's the beauty though of you being there, because
for sure. Sure.
Because you're bringing a whole perspective that is not there as much, and that's why this is, Paige and I were just having these kinds of conversations. That's why it's so important to be God's light in these places, because there is so much of the kind of either materialism or just so many different things.
I'd also actually even add, in addition to that, is your age. Like I think it's so refreshing, you being as young as you are and really pushing this aesthetic in terms of, again, with your faith. And it's just really important, I think, because it's really, you know, young people, they're I think we're all heavily influenced in some way, can be. And with social media and all this kind of stuff, as you were talking about with the brands and Gucci and everything, it's very easy to fall captive to those types of situations.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think it's so good that you're stubborn in that way. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, for sure.
Seriously.
I know. Yeah, I mean, it's hard because even like I haven't met many people that are Christians. Maybe a couple. Like there's so many different ways to like show people who Jesus is, like without the image itself, if that makes sense. Like it's not all like, obviously, like if you're shooting a campaign for Gucci or whatever, like obviously those pictures are not going to be like, oh yeah, Jesus is in that or whatever. But like the way that you like, so that's like something that I'm kind of like, okay, it's fine. Like, but I definitely felt in this pandemic for sure. I always realize this a lot, but like it's been more profound now of my call. Like I'm called to like bigger than I think that I'm called to, if that makes sense. So it's like I've been in Portland for about 8 months now, which is way longer than I thought I would be here. Like I moved back and I was like, why am I here still? Like I don't understand. Like I'm not doing fashion, like I'm not actually shooting for anybody right now. This feels really weird. And then this whole pandemic happened and I was trying to move to New York like literally during this time. And then now it's kind of like, oh, I'm literally stuck inside and I'm doing like some photo projects, but I realized like, oh, like you're called to do like bigger than you think that you're called to do. Like you're not supposed to be in Portland just like settling down to like have good coffee and like go to good brunch spots. Like you're like called to like be in this industry. And like even though it's hard, because like obviously it was hard and it gave me anxiety and whatever, but I realized like God is putting me there and like I can't. Sometimes I feel like, oh, that's kind of arrogant, but no, I was like, no, I'm like in this. I like have to be in, like, I'm not at the level of like the most famous fashion photographers or whatever, but like I've done fashion weeks, I've been to like these things. I'm like, no, like this is where I have to be, because like these people need Jesus. And like who else? Like, I mean, other people obviously are gonna like I'm not Jesus, but it's one of those things where I've been like,
dang it, like, we thought you were.
I know, but like I could be like,
it's really disappointing here.
I know, but I was just, well, you got to do it. You can't just like live like a comfortable life. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, Jesus doesn't call us live comfortably. So
come on.
Well, and also in this pandemic, that I was like, oh, yep, I can't live comfortably anymore. I'm over it. Visa, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, because your calling, it goes where you go. You know, it's not like it's it's what God's put in you is going to shine wherever you are. And I feel like the main thing is just being faithful in whatever place you are at the moment. That doesn't mean
for sure
forever, but yeah, we definitely feel you on.
Trust me, prayers are going forth. I was gonna say, I know your faith obviously is very significant. It's a very significant part of you. Could you give us one experience where God was real for you?
Yeah, I've actually thought about these things because I feel like I have a journal of them and then I forget about them. This is one example where it was like a financial example where I was freelancing and I didn't really have money. And like, obviously when you're freelancing, you're kind of like living invoice to invoice and you don't know what's like happening. And honestly, like God really taught me, oh, you really have to trust me because I'm going to like provide your money for your rent, your money for this. There's like a lot of anxiety around freelancing for me because of the money situations. And I remember I was in London and I had like 30 pounds in my bank account and I was waiting on like a couple of invoices, but they never paid. And I was like, I don't even know what to do right now. And then my friend in Paris was like, hey, come to Paris this weekend. And I was like, I literally have 30 pounds. Like, I can't. And then she's like, no, like, I'll pay for everything. Like, come. And I was like, what? This is crazy. And I bought like a 10-pound bus ticket or something to go there, which is like actually insane. And I was able to do photo shoots when I was there, like be able to meet some other Christian creatives that were also in the fashion industry when I was there. There's just so much like provision and blessing because my friend literally paid for everything. She's like, no, I will pay for everything. You don't have to worry about it. And I was like, are you sure? And I felt like in my heart, I was like, I don't deserve this. Like, I was probably stupid with my money. I probably like spent too much money on lunch or something. And like, now I'm like being punished and I only have 30 pounds in my bank account. Like, I was just kind of like that. And then she literally like, that was like a weekend that was literally like God's blessing. Like, he was like, you're going to meet like amazing people that know me and like are in the fashion industry too. And like, you're going to see these amazing things. You're going to be able to bond with your friends and like do all these things. And like, you don't need to rely on like money to do that. I will do that for you. And that was like, oh my gosh. And it literally, that trip was literally like, okay, yeah, like God's got me. Like, I literally can't fear anymore. Like, I honestly can't. So it kind of hit me in the wall because I was so anxious about money. And then after that, I mean, obviously I still like deal with, I mean, I think everyone kind of deals with that, but God is showing me so much provision. And it's been also by me giving as well, like offering, like giving to church, like tithing or whatever, like just that stuff too was like literally was like, okay, God, I trust you, like here's this, like and that was like, I guess it's a huge thing for me. And like maybe people listening, like if you're freaking out about freelancing and you don't have, like, I literally quit. I was doing an in-house photography job for like a year, and that was like a part-time to full-time gig, and I literally quit because God told me like you have to quit and do freelance. So I'm like, what? I don't want to, like, I don't have clients, nothing. And then I quit, and then I had no clients, nothing. I still had to pay like expensive London rent, and like just London's really expensive in general. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. And then literally clients just kept coming, and that was just like I can actually feel it's okay. like people are gonna come, I'm gonna have jobs. And like maybe people that are listening, like if you're like fearful of those, just stepping out into doing freelance and whatever, like obviously don't be like stupid and like be wise about stuff, but have more faith in God because he's gonna show up for sure.
I love what you said about, when you went to, when your friend invited you to Paris, and how you said, it's not, it wasn't, there's so many things that don't necessarily involve money, and just the whole thing of abundance being bigger than just money.
Yes, 100%. Like, I think that like that trip really was something that like I needed, and it's funny because like my friend, especially if somebody is like truly genuine and truly generous, they're not going to ask for it back, and they're not going to be like, oh, I did this for you, like I want like you to do that for me. Like there's none of that. That's like what I love, because I've seen that so much where people, like, we have to give people way more credit, like I've seen so many people just like give so much, like whether that be resources or housing or like money, like it doesn't even matter, and they have no expectation to like for you to give back, and that's like amazing because it shows God's character.
And it's such a good feeling too. It actually it genuinely feels good to give.
Yep.
Like with no strings attached, just to surrender.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of like, I felt like in photography too, or just like in the art, just anything in art, where it's kind of like some people are like wary to share you their like secrets, and not really secrets, but I mean like what's it called, like their resources, or like how they did things, and obviously there's like intellectual property there, so you don't want to share like everything, but like the people that have like helped me in like the industry the most are the people that are willing to actually like, oh, like I'm gonna give you resources and I'm gonna like help you out, and like I'm not gonna expect anything back from you, and that's like been really fruitful too. And like the way that I feel like I have knowledge that I can share to people, so I'm gonna actually just share it and like not expect anything, or like not charge them for it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, Sierra, of course, we can talk to you for the next 5 years. However, this pandemic will be over before then. So we're actually going to wind down now and just wanted to take a moment to say thank you once again so much for sharing who you are, your life, a little bit at least of who you are and your life, because it's been incredibly inspiring, especially like, with, I'm a menswear designer and I caught that, girl, that that's your specialty, doing menswear.
Hey.
Girl, I caught that. And so I definitely, it's on my vision board that I will be working with Sierra PRUITT. Yes, it is.
Ooh.
Yes, that is my vision.
When I go back to Europe, we're doing it.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, like, this whole London thing is no coincidence either.
Exactly.
It's so amazing.
Yes. Maybe we'll all be in London at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yes. Amen. 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 Well, once again, thank you so much, Sierra, for your time.
Thank you, Sierra.
Yeah.
And until we meet again.
In London.
Until we meet again. Oh, yes.
Thanks so much, Sierra.
All right, girl.
Yes, for sure.
That was the lovely gem, Sierra PRUITT. Thank you so much, Sierra. Honestly, I truly tell you, it was an honor and a privilege to have you on, and I look forward to working with you. That is not just me saying this. Nope. This is like an actual vision of mine, you guys.
Yes.
Check out her work. We will definitely be posting it. And her podcast as well, Image of God. Check it out. Very, very good.
Thank you, Sierra. You're very inspiring, and it's nice to know another artist from Portland, Oregon.
Keep it real. Thank you guys for tuning in. We wish you all a happy day. Moving all week with you. Take care, guys.